Fall is a season of transition and letting go, but if you live in Colorado in the United States where I do, it's already snowed a couple times before winter, so that transition is very fast. No matter how autumn is where you live, this restorative yoga for fall class will help you to feel more balanced and in sync with nature. During the fall, it's helpful to create a daily self-care and self-reflection routine that prioritizes warmth, feeling grounded, and deep relaxation. Restorative yoga is all three of those things, so you're in the right place. For this autumn restorative yoga sequence, you will need a chair, a round and flat bolster, 3 blankets, and an eye pillow, which is optional. If you're into restorative yoga, give this video a like and don't forget to subscribe because I post new restorative yoga videos every week here on this channel. Gather up your props and meet me back here on your yoga mat. We'll begin seated and set an intention for our practice. So either come to kneeling or sitting cross-legged, whatever works for you. And let's create Bu Mudra. This is a hand gesture to invoke a grounding quality for our practice. So we'll take the peace fingers, the index finger and the middle finger, and simply wrap the thumb around the other 2 fingers, drawing them into the palms. Then take those 2 fingertips on each hand and place them down into the ground on either side of you, as if you're forming a triangle through the top of your head and all the way down into your fingertips. Soften your elbows and your shoulders, and if it feels comfortable, allow the eyes to gently close. Just begin to notice the feeling of your fingertips on your mat. And relax the arms further so there's no grip or holding, relaxing into the wrists. Now notice your breath. Wherever the breath is in the body, allow it to be. And feel as you stay here that maybe the exhalations become a little bit longer. A sense of relaxation and release already starting to melt down through your shoulder blades, your upper arms, elbows, lower arms, wrists, and the hands. And ask yourself now, what is one thought that you've been having a lot lately that you are open to releasing this fall? Inviting in a new way of being, a fresher, clearer mind, simply through the act of letting go of what you no longer need. Bring just one thought to mind now, something that hasn't been helping you lately. And through your next 3 exhales out the mouth, release that thought through your arms into the earth and let the earth recycle it. Turn it into something new. So let's inhale deeply together. Open the mouth and sigh out the back of the throat, imagining that thought releasing from the mind. Continue. Deep inhale. Exhaling from the back of the throat with a sighing sound. And really bring that thought to mind on this last round. Inhale, fill yourself up and make space through the letting go. Exhale through your mouth, release the thought. Send it into the earth. Then release the fingers and bring the hands to the knees or the lap, widening the fingers, taking another breath in through the nose and a breath out through the nose, and observing any shift or change that's starting to happen in your energy. And then we'll open the eyes from here and continue on with our restorative yoga practice. So the first position is a simple seated forward bend with chair. Find your chair, and we will have a seat on it. I'm using a yoga chair, so I'm going to place that on my mat now, with the seat facing in toward the center of the mat. Then come up to have that seat, and separate your feet about 10 inches apart, which is roughly 2 fists distance. And the toes are pointing straight forward. The knees are stacked right over the ankles, sitting on the edge of the chair. From here, take an inhale, lengthen your spine, and then exhale and begin to hinge forward out of the hips, and just let your upper body spill forward as your arms reach forward, stacking the palms maybe one on top of the other, letting the elbows and the arms come in front of the legs, and then finally relaxing the crown of your head downward. Relax all tension in your whole body here, feeling the strong seat underneath you, as well as the heavy feeling that's starting to arrive in your feet and your arms. And there's a gentle compression that's happening at the abdomen, as well as a feeling of the breath being a bit blocked here. So just breathe naturally. Continue that feeling of the mind becoming clearer, releasing thought and all doing into the state of being. We'll rest here in stillness and silence for a brief time. Continue to pay attention to your breath, just watching everything in your experience. To begin to transition out of this position, first, place your palms again on the floor or the fingertips on the ground. Take a deep exhalation, maybe out through the mouth. Feel the abdomen start to turn on with effort, and then inhale, place your hands either to your knees or to the sides of the chair, and strongly lift all the way back up, avoiding rounding your spine. Once you're there, rest for a moment with your hands on your thighs and just allow the body to reintegrate into the space. Once that feeling of dizziness perhaps has subsided, or even just lightheadedness, let's go ahead and come back off of the chair and onto the yoga mat. And if you have your yoga chair here on your mat, you'll move that to the side. Next, grab your 3 blankets as we transition into supported wheel pose. I'll open them up to show you about the fold that you'll want to start with. And this is called a basic fold blanket, where it looks like a long rectangle. These are cotton yoga blankets. If you have any other type, it will probably work. Just see if you can get it about this wide across, and then fold that one more time. And now we have 3 blankets that are like a square fold blanket. From this space, with all 3, we're gonna roll them and place them one next to the other on the mat as a support for the back. So from that place, roll it up, and you'll find that you have a nice rolled blanket. Rolling it tightly with the seam side down so that they stay. And do that with the 3rd blanket as well. And they're across the middle of the mat so that we can lie down over them. So bring yourself to sit on one side, just in front and on top with your hips on that blanket. And then, placing your hands on either side of you, inhale and lengthen up from your spine. Now keep that length, bend into your elbows, walk back to your forearms and down all the way until the head meets the ground. And if this is uncomfortable, you can scoot forward or back until you get that just right position where it feels like the wave of your spine is supported by the wave of the blankets. So adjusting, either walking forward or back on the mat until you feel really safe in your back and you feel lifted at the same time. The base of the shoulder blades are on the floor. Finally, you have options for your legs. So this might feel really good just to stay with the feet directly underneath the knees and the toes pointing forward. Or you can walk the feet a little bit wider and drop the knees to touch. And in this way, there will be no holding onto the legs and no effort to hold them up. So choose whichever works for you, settle the shoulder blades underneath, and finally turn the palms up with the arms wide to a V by your sides. You could apply the eye pillow here for your eyes if you like, or simply close them now. Soften through your jaw. And feel the support of the blankets at your back. The softness and the cradling of your spine that's happening here. Give over all of your effort into the floor. Just let go. Feel yourself as the one who is being held. Nothing left to do. Just let go. We'll rest in silence together and stillness. Notice that you have the choice to move, and yet the intention to remain still. to come out of supported wheel. Slowly flutter the eyes open. And begin to open the knees if they're collapsed together. And we'll start to inch our way back like an inchworm with the hips and then the shoulders and the hips and the shoulders until you start to come back so far you can support the blankets forward with your hands so that your hips, your back arrive on the mat. And you can rest here for a moment, feeling the natural curve of your spine. From here, bend your knees in, place them on the blankets. Reach one arm overhead and roll to that side. Take your time, go slow. And once you're over on your side, resting your head on your bicep, as if moving through honey, press down and exhale, rise up to a seat. We will take the blankets off of the mat for now, keeping just one and unrolling it to your side. As we move on now into supported spinal twist, you'll need to grab your flat bolster. Take that in front of you, lengthwise up the middle of the mat. And then find your blanket that you had by your side. And let's come to sit on the left hip first, with the left hip against the bolster. Allow the legs to open into a pinwheel shape. So there's a 45-degree angle between the bottom knee and the hip, as well as now nesting this calf, top calf, into the instep of the foot. And this is where you're going to support with the blanket. So taking the blanket, maybe even folding it over one more time until you get a double square fold, and place that in between the calf and the foot so that there's some softness there. Now turn to face the bolster, and with your hands on either side of the bolster, take a deep inhale, lengthen through your spine as you push gently into your palms, twist through your chest, and then exhale and lower. Coming down to the bolster, walk your forearms forward, enough so that your elbows are in front of your shoulders and your hands can maybe stack or just rest in front of the bolster. Finally, the left cheek comes down to touch. A gentle twist through your upper spine mainly. The legs are very soft here and relaxed. And you could choose to close your eyes. Give your body weight into the bolster. And notice if you need to rearrange your arms so that you feel completely supported and relaxed through your upper spine. There are extra blankets here to place underneath armpits if that's helpful for you. Just watch the natural breath move in and out. Letting go. to transition to the other side of this twist. First, bring your forehead back to face the middle of the bolster. Then exhale and find a little bit of tension in your belly so that you can push into your palms, dragging your hands back toward you and lift up smoothly. Keep walking back with your hands and spin around so that your back is to the bolster. Remove the blanket to the side for a moment. Take your hands behind you, separate your feet nearly as wide as the mat, and then let's windshield wiper them over to the left and then over to the right. Just go slow and allow the knees to draw themselves down toward the floor through gravity. And after you complete this round over to the right, lift back up, grab your blanket and spin to that right hip. Now we're on the second side. Replace the blanket in between the legs, allowing there to be some padding so that the knees are separated and lifted. Double check that your bottom knee is 45 degrees from your hip. Then plant the palms on either side of the bolster. Take that deep inhale. Lengthen through your whole spine. Then exhale and lower with that length. Right cheek comes to the bolster this time. Hands move in front. Absolute relaxation in the forearms. We'll stay here in silence, savoring this feeling of becoming still and doing only this right now. Transition out by beginning to notice your breath and how the breath is moving in the whole body, where it presses the skin into the bolster and where it feels free on the left side waist. And then turn the forehead back to face the bolster. Exhaling, walk your hands back and lift your heart. As you come out of the twist, again, face away from the bolster, remove the blanket, set that to the side. And this time, just extend your legs long in front of you. Separate the feet slightly, support yourself with your hands any which way feels good for you with your fingertips. And then just windshield wiper through the legs as if you're opening from the hip joint rather than thinking about the foot moving. The foot moves as a result of the hips moving. Just little baby windshield wiper action back and forth, rotating through the hips. And then find a moment of stillness. Bigger breath in and bigger breath out, settling into the floor. Now let's bend into the knees and transition into a side lying stretch. So you will need both bolsters for this, possibly bolsters and blanket. Turn the bolster, the flat one, so it's widthwise across the middle of your mat, and then stack the round one on top. This might be too tall for you, especially if you're shorter. I'm quite tall, so this works out for me. If this is too tall, when you come to rest over on your side, you can always use your blankets and stack those to an appropriate height for you. So that's available to you as you need to modify. I'll show you this way. So holding on to the top bolster, you'll sit against it with your left hip. And then I'm going to push down and inhale, lift up and get my waist into the bolster. And then extend long through my arms, extend long through my legs until neither my shoulders nor my hips or the knees even are touching the floor. And this is going to be your height. So you'll know you're there when your shoulders and your hips are lifted above the ground. Then take the top leg in front, bottom leg behind, and allow the side waist to just drape into the ground. You can close the eyes here. This is not as long of a hold, so take advantage of this time of letting go into the left waist by deeply inhaling into your right ribs. Reach the breath into the right lung, the right ribs, and exhale and release it all back out. Let your head relax against your arm so it's heavy, it's not held up in any way. Check to make sure that your shoulders are stacked, your hips are stacked. Continue to breathe. Now we find our way out. By exhaling, bend the elbows, bend the knees, and just slide off of the bolster. Go slow as you come up. You're probably going to feel a deep opening into that side of the waist. And then let's transition on to the other side. And so simply turning around, sitting against the bolster, the legs open long to one side, the arms are going to reach to the other. Hold the bolster as you inhale, reach it into the waist, and then extend the arms and extend the legs. And let the top leg come in front of the bottom leg. Shoulders are stacked, hips are stacked. Extending long through this whole left side of your body now. Breathe deep into the left rib cage and the left lung. And keep reaching through the feet, but do allow the knees to soften. Expand the breath into the rib cage, and on your exhale, feel that big letting go in the right waist.
Let's find one more big round of breath here. In and out. And use the exhale to start to bend into the knees, bend into the elbows, dropping the hips. Press the body up. Take a moment, just feeling that release through the side bodies. And then we'll turn back to the bolsters. Rest in a hero, taking the top round bolster off to the side. And breathe into the fullness of the torso and feel as if there's space here now. Space as we continue to ground and continue to let go. So next up is our supported child's pose. Spin the flat bolster back lengthwise and grab one of your blankets. This will add an extra softness to your knees. So we'll push that flat bolster forward for now and open up the blanket so you've got an even wider, longer blanket than before. I've unfolded it rather 2 times, and then I'm going to place that across the middle of the mat. Fold one of the short sides down to the other, and then turn that blanket. So now there's about 2 inches, 3 inches of space here, and the blanket is nearly the size and the width of your mat. Then walk forward and separate your knees, placing the ankle joints at the little lip and the edge of the top fold. Separate the knees comfortably. The toes can either come to touch here, or they can be farther apart if that feels better. If you have any ankle tension going on, you're going to roll up the bottom edge of the blanket, and you might even pull it back more until you have a little bit of a lift for your feet, and that will take off some of the pressure on the ankles and the toes. So that's an option for you as well. I'll take it back into the version that works best for me at this moment. From there, pull your flat bolster in between the legs. Find another blanket, and let's open it up one time from that square fold. So we're back in the basic fold. Now just fold the long side to the long side until you have a rectangle fold, and place that on the top of the bolster. It's about the width of the bolster, and you can tuck the edge of that blanket in toward you. Now finally, just take a simple inhale, get really tall, and exhale, lean the torso down to rest on top of the bolster, either cheek to the mat, whatever works best. Allow your arms to relax forward, the hands palms down. Find that sense of grounding here. And if you want to stay warm and for even more grounding, you can lift up, find your third blanket, and open it up, placing it over top of your hips, snugging it into the creases of your hips, and resting here. As you settle in, make any micro adjustments that feel best for you right now. And then give your body over heavily into the floor. Feel the props rise up to meet you. Let's rest together in stillness and silence, letting the thoughts go as they come, because they will, and that's okay. Recognize yourself as the one observing the thoughts. Transition out very slowly by turning your forehead back to the center of the bolster. Then bringing your hands back by your sides and lifting your heart. Slow exhale. Walk your hands to the blanket on top of the bolster. Just rest for a moment with your heart high above your hips. And then reach around behind. If you have that blanket, set the blanket off to the side. And walk your hands forward. Walk the knees back into a table position. The hands are underneath the shoulders, the knees are under the hips. And let's just fluidly move through a cow and a cat. On the inhale, descend the belly, look forward, shoulder blades draw together. Exhale, arch through the whole back body, relaxing the chin toward the chest. A couple more rounds to find the fluidity, the transition in between the stillness. Enjoying the breath, enjoying the sense of rejuvenation that's starting to arrive from our practice. And come back to a neutral spine. Stretch one leg back at a time so that the blood starts to flow into each knee, the toes tucked underneath on the floor or the mat. And once you feel like the legs have been awakened, let's transition into our final rest, basic relaxation pose. So move the blanket off of the mat and open it up one time from the rectangle shape and just roll from the long side all the way over. This will be underneath the ankle, so place that at the top end of the mat. And then turn your flat bolster one more time widthwise at the middle of your mat. Finally, let's remove the blanket underneath the knees. And we'll create what's called a headrest blanket. So you'll start with the square fold blanket shape. And then take each top end or side of the blanket and tuck it under. Once you tuck it under, it will start to look something like this. Then do the exact same thing with the bottom ends. Take them and tuck them under. There will be a little divot that starts to form in the center. This is going to be a nest for your head. Finally, we will tuck the top wings underneath and push down a little bit until you have found a little bit of space, and you can walk the top edge of the top fold back just until there's about 2 inches of the bottom fold showing. This is going to be a support for your shoulders. So place that at the top of your mat, and if you didn't quite get that, no worries. You can always just use a blanket folded over twice for your head. The benefit of this is it keeps your head from rolling side to side so that you can deeply relax. Next, sit in between the space of the headrest blanket as well as the bolster and drape your legs over top. Hook your backs of the ankles to the blanket so that they're lifted off of the ground. And slowly then start to lower down until your head is supported by the headrest blanket. Now you have a couple options here. You can readjust this as you need, creating it a little bit more height for the back of your head by tucking the top ends under. Or you can lower it. Allow the forehead to be slightly higher than the chin. And you can grab your eye pillow if you like and place that on your eyes now. And then wiggle your shoulders so that they feel held but also grounded. And do a little check-in with your legs. So notice, are your knees not quite high enough? In other words, does the low back feel very arched? Is there pain? In that case, you're going to tip up the bolster a little bit higher toward you so that when you come on down and you lie down, your knees are higher and supported. And there's no effort needed to hold the bolster up. It's pretty much wedged in between your legs.
And again, draping your heels off the edge of the blanket, readjusting the head as necessary. Open the arms wide to a V, wider than you think so that there's space for your armpits. Let the palms either turn up or down. It's up to you, whatever feels best. Ensure that you are entirely comfortable because we will be here for a while. Keep warm with placing another blanket over your whole body. Do what you need to do to feel more warm, grounded, and relaxed. And recall that thought that you are open to releasing during this season of fall. And let it go as easily as your next exhalation. Rest in stillness until I bring you out. Bring your awareness to your fingertips and your toe tips. And start the process of waking up and re-entering this space. Envisioning what your room looks like. Feeling your body in the room. Now moving the fingers and the toes. Listening for distant sounds. Arrive ever outward with your senses, trusting and knowing that something deep has shifted and transitioned within you. Maybe stretch your arms overhead if you like, as well as the legs long. And then bend the knees in one at a time, placing them on the bolster or closer in toward your chest, maybe all the way in, giving yourself a hug. Extend one arm overhead and roll to that side. Go slow. Finally, use your other hand to press down gently. Lift the heart. As you arrive in a comfortable seat, and let's take the hands together at the chest. Anjali Mudra. With a tall spine, recognize the effects of the practice. And offer gratitude for this practice, as well as to yourself for taking the time to do less so that you can continue to do more in your life toward your purpose on your path. As you finish up this practice, opening the eyes, coming back into this space, I would love to hear about your experience in the comments. So go ahead and let me know how this went and what thought you were working on and focusing on letting go during this transition time of fall. Also, it means a lot if you give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for even more restorative yoga videos I post every week, as well as guided meditations. Thank you so much again for practicing with me. I'd love to connect with you over on my website. Sign up for my free e-letter to get informed about new videos as I post them, as well as other resources to help you live with more purpose and more peace of mind. Namaste.